This week you got DK and Rip. We back doing solo shows. I'm officially an island boy. I was before. I'm even more so now. I've relocated. I've got a new spot. I'm settled for a couple months. We're going to talk about it. I did a Hawaiian trail run. We're going to hit on that. I don't know how many listeners out there did an actual trail mud run in their life, but mission accomplished for me. It's an awesome episode. Enjoy.
DK, like every episode, this episode of One Star Recruits is brought to you by 500 Level. It's 500level.com. Fantasy football is back. They have all the hottest shirts in the game. They have a purple Justin Jefferson shirt with him doing the gritty. It's unbelievable. They got George Pickens from the Steelers, a 71-yard touchdown last night on Monday Night Football to carry your fantasy squad. And something near and dear to our hearts, they have Maui Strong shirts, where 100% of the net proceeds from every shirt go to local organizations to help affected families in Maui. DK. 500level.com. Discount code 1STAR at checkout gets you 20% off everything on the site. Let's go.
Yo, aloha. Welcome to the One Star Recruits podcast. I'm DK, joined with my best friend of 26, 27 years now, maybe 28 years now, Rip. I have found a solidified living situation. I'm very excited. I'm hoping my internet connection's good and my mic and my podcast setup sounds okay. How are we on your end right now, Rip? We okay? Are we sounding okay to the world?
Hey, we're always 1 star, but you sound about 2.5 right now. I'm gonna give you credit, buddy.
I'll take it, man, because I now live in the sticks. I now live. What do you call it? Let's back up a little bit for the listeners here so they understand this play. I'm going to start with COVID. Are you okay with this, Rip? So I can explain how I landed where I landed.
Yeah, for all the new 1 star listeners, yeah, we got to talk about ourselves a little bit rather than all these 5 star guests. Tell them what you've been up to the last few years.
Well, it's years is long, but I'm going to take it back just to COVID for a minute because COVID, as in life, and I'm sure you've had a lot of experiences in life, Rip, from births of kids to weddings to trips to friends to new jobs. Things change pretty quickly in this world. For us, my family, it started with COVID. COVID started, and we were happy and we were healthy, and we had our home in Southern California. We did a renovation on the home. It was we were going to be there for a while. Life was set up for success. I built out an entire podcast studio in my garage. We designed the whole thing, Rip. We went through a handful of iterations in going from really shitty to like medium shitty, but we did it. We had a whole build out. That was the plan. Here comes COVID. COVID comes in like the tornado in the Wizard of Oz, Rip, and shakes us up our life. And we hopped in that tornado. It started spinning, and it spit us on the island of Maui in Lahaina, Hawaii. Never would have thought in my wildest dreams that we would have ended up there. But that's where this tornado spit us. And that's kind of what life does more often than not, as like we keep going through this and living a little bit more. What you think is set up for the next 40, 50 years, you can plan for success, but you never know which way you're going to turn, left, right, down, up. You never know. And this is that story. So this tornado landed us in Lahaina. We couldn't believe it. My wife has a great job there. I'm figuring out my life. I'm able to walk and bike to the ocean every morning. It's glorious. It's in a tourist town. We buy a condo. We set up. We think we're set up. We think that we have older dogs. We think the dogs are going to have their retirement zone here in beautiful Lahaina and live their life. No thoughts moving forward. Go ahead and press that fast forward button a little bit more. We go back to now a month and a half ago. Another Wizard of Oz tornado comes through, pulls us up, and we land on the island of Kauai. Kauai is a very beautiful place. Now that I've been here for about a month, very different from Maui. Very lush, very green. It's called the Garden Isle. It really is the Garden Isle. But we were like lost puppies when we landed here. And thank you to my good friend TK. He set us up in this exquisite house. He has this vacation home that they use for Airbnbs and rentals, and it sleeps 11 people. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a ohana, which is a guest house, a main house. And he says, you know what, guys, you stay here for 20 days and just get your life in order. Go ahead and call your family and friends. They can come stay. When we drove up to this house in Poipu, it was a dream. It was literally a dream come true. And we were so ecstatic in every way, shape, and form to go from having our condo to staying in a 1 bedroom garage for 3 or 4 days, getting our life together. Now all of a sudden we're in this dreamland of this 4,000 square foot home with a saltwater pool and a pool table and ping pong and big screen TVs everywhere. It really was just we would have never guessed, we would have never expected it, but we ended up there, and we were so grateful. It's what we needed. In fact, the hosts were so okay with us using that for us. We were able to get my in-laws out. My wife's mother and father came out and spent 10 days with us. They would have never came to Hawaii before. In this situation, it was the easiest, and it was so perfect of a situation for success. And we needed it. We needed to be surrounded by family. It really was what we needed. But we got 20 days there. Next situation at hand was we need to figure out where we're going to live, what we're going to do with our lives. Why we're staying in Hawaii now simply comes down to my wife's work situation. She still works in Maui. She still has her job, and they're doing an amazing job. They're doing amazing work there to not only host victims of the fire, their ladies and gentlemen, make sure that they're able to get on their feet, but this process of starting this business again in this area, it's a lot. And the last thing we want to do is run away from that. But we have no home in Lahaina anymore. Rentals in that area are available, but just don't fit us as much as we need them to at this stage in our life. I'm 42, Rip. I'm pretty particular at this stage of my yeses and my nos. And listeners, probably, I hope that makes sense to you, because that's all we really have at the end of the day is our boundaries and our limits. And my limit was that I'm not ready to go back to Maui. I'm definitely not ready to go back to Maui and live in a studio apartment and fight through this rebuild without going through the process fully, without closure, without making sure that I am emotionally stable, that my wife's emotionally stable. So we said we're going to stay in Hawaii. Any island is okay for us, but we'd like to stay in Kauai because it's beautiful, it's smaller, and it's an opportunity for us to dig in more to this lifestyle that really we thought we were getting in Maui, but what we were getting there was more of the tourist lifestyle. So our 20 days end. My best in life, you're very good at finding guests. You're very good at being persuasive and persistent and pushing things through. You're actually amazing at it. You're probably the best person I know. My superpower is being really resourceful, especially in times of need. So housing is one of those areas for me where if I was a creative player in a video game and my limit was I probably have a lazy limit, probably of like a 79, 80, but resourcefulness, that's a 97. If Tyreek Hill was studying me, he'd be like, oh shit, this guy's really resourceful. Don't put him in a bad situation because he'll be able to pull himself out. What happened in Hawaii was I dug into that zone. In Kauai, I said, okay, here's what I envision. I envision an ohana being available. And ohana is kind of like a guest house in a nice area where we can regroup, breathe, focus on us, myself, my wife, from inside out. So the condo scene is fine and nice, but you can't focus on yourself in that area. It's too much going on. There's too many other people. It's really hard to just get out of your head, out of your space. Any kind of city with a Safeway, with freeways, and this sounds crazy to everybody listening, like DK, you're nuts. Who can go just kind of manifest this and go get it? But I threw it into the universe. The power of my resourcefulness was I started with my one contact here, my guy TK. He had a real estate agent on this island. She was my next step. He had a couple other friends who were in some areas where they hang out with folks who might have an ohana available in the area. So I started making those calls, telling our story, throwing it out there. As the world works, as the world turns, some things came back to us. What came back to us was an opportunity to live in this town of Kalaheo, which is about 30 minutes north of Poipu. We found 12 acres. So this particular place that we found is on 13 acres. It's a former botanical garden. So at one point in time in the 1960s and 70s, this was a complete botanical garden where people would come walk the gardens and learn about plants and birds and animals. They put 5 houses on this property. There's a main house. There's a cottage. There's 2 other houses here in this area. And then there's one house called the surf shack that they call it. And this amazing woman called us, and she was very compassionate for our situation and what happened. And because of the Coconut Wireless and the resourcefulness of the network that we built in a short time, and the referral from the real estate lady, Hannah Solis, by the way, big shout out if you're ever looking for property in the island of Kauai. She's the best in the business. This came together. So this place, Rip, is in Kalaheo, Hawaii. It's an unincorporated community, bro. It is. I think there's about 3,000 people who might live here. It really is heaven on earth. And to get here, you got to drive about 3 miles on a dirt road. You enter kind of the Shangri-La bounty of flowers and trees and botanical gardens, if you will, to this 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom cottage. If I want to go to 7-Eleven, I have a 30-minute drive in front of me. If I want to go to Safeway, go pick up some peanut butter pretzels, I got a 35, 45-minute drive in front of me. We really manifested and accomplished a Hawaiian lifestyle for the next 2 months. And this is short term. This isn't our lives, but this going from a situation in Lahaina of condo, tourists, hotels, waiting in line for breakfast, to getting eggs from the chicken farm here, to if you want something, you got to really go get it. If you want to exercise here, you got to go run up and down the hills. There's no gym to go to. So we've been here for about 3 days, bro. I don't know how the world works for everybody. I think the power of manifesting and knowing your strengths and staying positive through tough times does work out. But every morning I woke up for the last 4 days, I'm living in a dream. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's very much a dream here. And I feel so incredibly lucky. And I wanted to start the podcast off with that. It's less of a story of look at me, look where I ended up. It's more of a story right now of life gets a little tough, regroup, figure out your strengths and weaknesses in your partnership, in your crew around you. And then that power of resourcefulness and pushing through the concept that, you know, what most people would have done is what I would have probably ended up doing, which was grabbing a studio apartment in the town of Lihue in our budget. And that would have been that, because that's the easy way to do it. Instead, going through the right process of believing that we can find the right space for us, telling our story in a way that's compelling, building the relationship. I guess it's all the stuff that you learn in life in 20 years since college of dealing with people and working and trying to figure out how to move around in a way that makes sense, but sincerely enough that others want to help out. The world then abides. So here we are, man. We've landed safely for the next 3 months. I'm remote. That's why I'm curious about my sound quality. The internet's running off the Starlink here, which apparently is pretty good. Goes a little bit in and out. But for the next 3 months, we are in Shangri-La. This feels like, bro, the place where like the Kennedys, if the Kennedys came to Hawaii for a little vacation, they would probably do something like this: a compound, a commune, if you will. The owners of the property live in Carmel, California. They come back for holidays and a couple times during the year, but it's not a lot of active bodies around. Just before this podcast, a teenage cow ran by and my dog started barking. There's pigs running around. There's goats running around. This is the Hawaii I thought of when I was moving to Hawaii. This is where manifesting, believing, and just kind of pushing through life spit us out. So that tornado ride started with COVID in Costa Mesa, picked us up and spit us out, picked us up again after the worst fire in the history of the United States, definitely in Hawaii, spit us back out here. And I just really have a lot of gratitude. And I'm so happy that things transitioned in a way that we have to feel them. We have to feel all these emotions, and now getting to a place where we can focus on ourselves for the first time. I haven't in the month and a half since this happened, I haven't been able to really breathe. Since we've been here for the last 3 or 4 days, now we can start to really breathe, figure it out. But it takes environment, takes other people, it takes help. And I'm so grateful. And that's my story, man. So we've landed in we've landed, Rip, in Kalaheo, Hawaii. We're safe. And the new chapter starts. I don't know what it means for this podcast. I don't know what it means for careers. I'm not sure what it means for anything except for mental health for myself and my family. Physical health now is something for myself and my family we can get back into. All the stuff that we put on the back burner is back in action, man. And so from the last 3 years to now, through two of the worst tragedies in the history of the United States, if not the world, I've been right in the middle of. And to be spit out and to be okay, my heart is full, man. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate the listeners for their patience and being with us. And I appreciate you for your friendship. I look forward so much to coming on this podcast, but we've landed softly. The new chapter is turning, and I can't wait to see what's in store for the future for ourselves and for this podcast.
I'd expect nothing less from, like you said, the Tyreek Hill of resourcefulness. If there was a Madden game for resourcefulness, you'd have that 97 on there. And honestly, it sounds like the perfect kind of bounce back spot to go just gather yourself for a few months. And you guys have been through crazy stuff the last 8 weeks or so. But I had a question because you said some of the pictures and videos you sent me, I'm just breathtaking. Like you said, kind of the Hawaii you always imagined. You mentioned 2 or 3 months. Is there any chance for something more permanent out there, or is it a hard stop at the end of the year? Are you or is that kind of up in the air?
It's open. It's open. We'll see how things go. A lot of our decision making now is going to be dependent on Kimmy's work situation. So we'll see how that goes. The concept of being settled somewhere for a long amount of time is thrown out the window now. And we're going to be more malleable. We're going to be able to. We're lighter than ever. We're accepting all of these things now instead of thinking that it's set in stone. And I hope that's encouraging for some people out there, like like you, Rip. I'm not going to push your buttons too much. I know your wife doesn't love Long Beach as much as you do. I know it's a great place to raise children, and you got a lot going on. But the adventure and this ride that is life, sometimes it's okay to hop on that ride. Sometimes if you're above 3.5 feet and you get on that ride, it's sometimes better to get on that ride. It may feel crazy in the moments. It may feel out of whack, out of sync. I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'll tell you one thing that's true. I've been real comfortable the last 3 years. Back to being uncomfortable, my mind's open and my actions are open, and I'm ready. I'm more ready than I've ever been to kind of figure this life thing out. When I say figure this life thing out, it simply means be happy in what I'm doing, and be happy in my passion, be happy in my ability to love others, give back, and as well as really work on myself. And sometimes you need the right environments to do that. There's a lot going on in this world constantly, especially with our phones and scrolling and news and do this and pick up this and drop off this. Lots going on all the time. Now, for the first time in a long time, we're going to be able to start from within and work out. And that's it. That's going to be the gold, man. It's going to be the way that we attack this next chapter.
And it's important to be able to stop and take that breath, man. Kind of honestly, like we are on this podcast right now. I used to be consumed with getting a guest every week, but we've had many episodes over the summer and the first half of this year, DK, where it's just us, man. And that's fine. Like you're getting the chance to take that breath and regroup. And sometimes we need those weeks for this pod. And I mean, it's inspiring, to be honest. Like, don't be surprised. I could open up a Yogurtland franchise in San Luis Obispo, or I could move to Bentonville, Arkansas, and work in advertising for Walmart. Like it is important to be a little uncomfortable. So, don't be surprised at any changes with this podcast in the future. But we try to keep it exciting all the time. For the last basically 2 years since you moved, I've done every episode of this podcast from my dining room in Long Beach, where I'm within like a half mile of a Target, a Trader Joe's, a McDonald's. And like you said, you have a 45-minute drive. So that's the beauty of this kind of thing, this podcast right now, is we could be in two totally opposite places, but still bring all these quality guests and this 5-star content every week. So props to you guys, man. It's going to be an exciting ride. And I'm glad that you're able to stop and take that breath right now.
What a time to be alive. It's amazing. I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Happy to try new things. That goes on this, like my next thing. I did a trail run, bro. I did a mud trail run, which is something I've never done. Listeners know I did a little marathon last year. I did a half marathon. Felt so great. So proud of myself. This last Saturday, I did something called the Ultimate Hawaii Trail Run, which is really I thought just a mud run. Thought it was a 10K. Turns out I got there. It was for a great cause, supporting lots of drug problems in Hawaii with the youth, Rip. I didn't know about this. I learned about it this weekend. Fentanyl in particular has hit this island extremely hard. So I don't know how listeners can even help with that. I don't know that information, but I learned it. With that said, this was a donation to do this race. the beauty of this race and the beauty of having access to some of this land in Hawaii that you don't usually get access to is this private, uncut, natural land, and they opened up 12.5K. So that's the total of this race that was done. I went with my buddy. We are going to do 5K. That was the plan. We'll do the 5K. We'll see what's up. I got there. I started doing the 5K, got through about 3 of them. I said, fuck it. I'm going to do the whole 10K. I'm in shape now. I did a half marathon last year. I've been working out consistently. And I did this full, what was supposed to be a 10K ended up being 12.5K. So it's all about 7 miles through this amazing private land in the town of Oman here. My favorite part by far. So mission accomplished. I did it. There was some walking, there was some running, not like running like a trail runner. Like definitely I was in the low 30 percentile of finishers. But towards the end, you run through 2 miles of these guava trees. And I've never smelled anything like this in my life. The smells coming from this area of this race were it smelled like fermented guava in the best way possible. Like maybe like a guava beer mixed with a little bit of a perfume that hit your nose and your senses. And it was something I've never smelled before. And then as I opened my eyes to, wow, that smells crazy. This is amazing. The next kind of end mile, all of a sudden I'm starting to smell other smells and I'm out in nature. And a couple of things that I did during this race that I haven't done in years: pulled my ear pods out, no ear pods, no cell phone, no podcasts, none of the stuff that I used to take my brain away from the shit that's always going on in my brain. I'm always connected, bro. Now that I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, I'm learning again to be disconnected and to be with my own thoughts. The only thing that you can be concerned about in a race like this or this type of terrain is what's underneath your feet, that step underneath your feet. Because if you don't, you're going to fucking fall. It's kind of an analogy for life where we're at right now. All we can control is what's underneath our feet. So it's kind of a stay in the present, you know? And if we stay in that moment, nothing's too hard. It's right here and I can deal with it or I can't deal with it, whatever it is. Unless you're being attacked by a bear or I don't know, you live in Long Beach, Rip. Maybe there's a human attacking, trying to carjack you. You're okay. And that's the realization. That was a realization for me to pull those ear pods out and be with my thoughts for 3.5 hours, but not with my thoughts in the past, thinking about the fire, thinking about what if, not my thoughts in the future. What am I going to do for dinner? How am I going to hit these other goals? No. You got to stay right in the present. And God did it refuel my soul to spend 3 hours in the present. By the time it was over, I'd sweat through my shirt, mud all over my body, took some good spills, tons of little rope swings and mud jumps and all that shit. But when I left, my soul was fulfilled. I'd found permanent place to live. I pushed myself physically and mentally. I unplugged, which, God, Rip, I don't know if I want to repeat that. I unplugged. I don't think people get that. And I just did 3 hours and I'm coming out the other end. And I'm not preaching. I'm not saying it's better, but I say my head felt so nice. My brain like that. I was able to focus on me, on the present for 3 hours. And I want to encourage listeners. I want to encourage you, bro, to do some more actions in your life if you can, and myself included, to just be with yourself, be with your thoughts, stay in the present. It's so hard. It's so hard this day and age. Social media, television, sports, podcasts. You always want to be on top of everything. Everything, you got to know what's going on. It's too much for us sometimes. We're just humans. We're just animals, man. Really, at the end of the day. But I did it. So I did a trail run. I cleared my head. I found permanent housing. I'm working on myself. I'm really a mess of a human when things aren't going right. I'm not the greatest partner. My critical thoughts come out first with myself, then with the others around me. Outside influences encourage me to be not my best self. Now here I am. Tornado has spit me out here, pushing myself, pulling away from things that I thought were 100% must have importance in my life and going back to the basics. And I'm going to do my best to keep that going for the next couple of months of this journey and share it with the listeners. share what's working, what's not working in complete honesty. I'm gonna still stay up on my sports. I still love the NFL. We're gonna talk about it here in a second. It was an amazing second week. We got the real NFL come in the second week. The first week was just chaos of people trying to figure it out. So I'm still into the things that I'm passionate, but I can feel myself changing a little bit, Rip. After all of this, I can feel myself changing, hopefully for the better, hopefully from the inside out instead of the outside in. I think I've been doing a lot of outside in the last couple of years of my life. I think I've been letting outside influences create who I am instead of inside out. So now it's time for me to figure it out again. I'm gonna start over, Rip. Kauai Coffee is right down the street here. Have you ever heard of Kauai Coffee? It's a blue bag you see at grocery stores. The farm is here. Don't be surprised if your boy's out there taking an entry-level job learning about coffee beans and coffee trees.
There's an old saying, man, running is therapy, and it's you're running for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, like you get that time to think and reflect, and it sounds like you're doing a little bit of that during that trail run. The crazy thing is, knowing you for so long, you used to hate running. Like you could never, I would never see you running. But now, like you're running all the time. You're doing races, like you're doing new stuff, man. Are you a runner now? Do you actually enjoy running?
Hate it. I still hate it. But what I am is what I'm trying to be, I'm not. What I'm trying to be is a present life liver. Live in the present. And that moment of running, you can probably agree with me. You're a daily runner, especially once you find your flow. You have to be in the present. You have to watch your next step. You have to see the cars in front of you. You have to work on your next breath if you're really tired. You have to be in the present. And for me, whose brain has been in the past, why me? Why me? In the future, why not me? Why not me? Not great for mental health. The present, doing your best in the moment, it's everything. So don't call me a runner. Call me a present life liver. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, whatever you're doing is working in more ways than one, because your fantasy team put up like 185 points this week. 185 points, probably a top five performance in the history of our 20-year league. Incredible,
Yes,
man.
20, very hard to score points the way Rip has this league set up, and 200 points is nuts. Everybody hit. It was a little bit of a lucky day. We had Kyron Williams had another big day. That was a spot start because I Aaron Jones went down, Rip. Otherwise, I would have never started Kyron Williams against the San Francisco 49ers. Best defense in the league. It's crazy. But guess what? One star alumni, that man showed up once again. He's a bowling ball. He runs with purpose. I had another guy, Pickens. Your guy Pickens, 500 level shirt. Pick it up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. He shouldn't have been in my lineup. I didn't love him in my lineup until their number one receiver went down. Pickens shows up, has a huge game. Some very lucky stuff that happened. Amazing to get 200 points in this league. Amazing to get back on the winning streak in fantasy football. I was 0-2 prior in my other two leagues. So I'm back at it, bro. I'm a good fantasy drafter. I'm gonna say it. I'm a Good fantasy drafter. I gotta believe in myself.
You're off to an incredible start, and you don't have Nick Chubb, so that's a win right there. That poor guy. Monday Night Football, is sad to see that, but it's going to start off a frenzy on the waiver wire for sure. But fantasy football is always crazy, man. But 185 points for you, that's just insane, man. You had a great week.
Yeah, a couple of things from this week. Let's start with those Browns. Deshaun Watson, what a joke. How about Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay, winning games, being the leader he is. Deshaun Watson looks like he doesn't know how to throw a football without doing 3 pump fakes. He thinks he is. So Troy Aikman prior to the game had him meditating, had a little quip and a little laugh at Deshaun Watson's pregame routine. The fact that this guy tried to get a hand job from 75 different masseuses, and he's out here still trying to be a $250 million leader. I can see right through it. Can you see right through his facade, Rip?
I can see right through it. He's out there shoving refs aside and pulling guys' face masks. I think twice in that game. It feels a little bit like karma. I mean, and the Browns. I mean, with their history, they gave that guy like $250 million guaranteed. It's not paying off, man.
What game jumped out at you, man? I know we had Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, great finish. What do you want to talk about here? What game? We'll pick one game. Rip's game of the week. Which game you want to talk about?
Is it bad to say Cardinals Giants?
No, let's go there, man. Let's go there because it was on my list. It was one of those instances where actually we got off to such a great start. For a second, I thought maybe we have a team. Then I got into panic mode because I don't want to have a team this year. I want to lose. Looks like we found a way to lose differently than any other team can.
That's my thing. I want them to go 0-17 at this point, but that was glaring because we were up 20-0 at halftime. So my thought is either Jonathan Gannon's the worst halftime adjustment coach in the NFL, the first year head coach, we're terrible at halftime adjustments, or I think there could have been a directive from upstairs saying you better not win this game, and they just went flat in the second half and got destroyed. And I think that's the pattern going forward. We got the Cowboys next week. I think the spread on that is like over 10. We're gonna get destroyed. It's a good start if you're a Cardinals fan because we're looking like we're gonna get that number one pick. But yeah, that team is just a mess right now.
Yeah, God, it was really an opportunity to get to see. God, those Cowboys are so good, huh? It's probably this game if you want to bet against the Cardinals. This is a game because the Cowboys look really really put together. I'm okay with this defense, too. This defense is playing hard. I can see the beginnings of a foundation that Jonathan's trying to do here with this team. But let's keep it loose in there. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. We saw a glimpse that they can play a little bit. So that theory is out the window that they're complete trash. But Saquon now injured. Nick Chubb injured. Taylor, PUP list. Maybe this whole running back theory had some legs that running backs are not valuable because of injuries and lifespan. I was on the boat for a little bit, kind of being a little sad for them because I think it's hard to be a running back. I think it's super hard. I think you take the most hits, the hardest hits, and it's not an easy job to be successful at. But if you can't stay on the field, you can't get paid.
Yeah, they've had a tough haul so far this year. I mean, so many starting running backs already down, and really, it's just the NFL in general. I mean, you see Aaron Rodgers go down on almost a non-contact hit. It was a sack, but nothing out of the ordinary. It's just the risk of the NFL, I think, at this point. I mean, you're going to see some of these happen every year, and running backs have the ball a lot, and they take the most contact, so it's probably going to happen more to them.
You disappointed in Darren Waller not showing up? Who are you most disappointed in so far in your fantasy team? Who you drafted?
Probably Deontay Johnson, only because he hasn't really played. I think he played like a quarter in the first game, but I drafted him pretty high for the Steelers, and the Steelers look like a mess. Kenny Pickett is not good so far, period. But at least he'll be back in a little bit, and he's not out for the year like a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, not good, not good. With Saquon going down, I know Matt Breida. People are looking to get him. I threw $6 bid on him. Hopefully, we can make that happen. He's fast. I know he's super fast. I watched him in Miami break a lot of runs, but that Giants team is trash. Marvin Mims Jr. pick him up. Had a huge touchdown. He looks like he might be the truth a little bit. He's got some swag to him. Our guy Zach Moss in Indianapolis could be a good pickup. Jaden Reed, man, Green Bay. You called it with Green Bay, Rip. You thought Jordan Love might have a little juice in him. He does have that juice, and these wide receivers are interesting. I don't know if that's an immediate pickup. I actually drafted Jaden Reed. I stashed him and I replaced him for somebody else, and I'm having a little bit of FOMO for doing that. You like those young receivers in Green Bay?
They're looking good, man. And like, no one was talking about him after Aaron Rodgers left, but they're getting their chance to prove themselves. You really might be a good drafter because I saw that guy on the draft board. I said, I've never even heard of this guy. You did cut him, but yeah, he's been great so far.
Yeah, he's a nice pickup there. So there's some pickups on the waiver wire you can make some plays with. Man, it's just NFL's back. I think it's a situation for NFL fans in week 2 where things start to come together a little bit. You start to see who teams are. Baltimore, I still don't know. They're one of those teams where I'm still trying to figure them out. I know you got Lamar Jackson. I have Lamar Jackson in another league. I want them to put it together. I think they're going to win ugly every single week, though, if they do win, or it's going to be a big loss pretty much. So much of that is Lamar's attitude. It's really how I think at the end of the day. If he's being a good leader, I think that team can go very far. Cincinnati, another one of those teams. Baltimore, Cincinnati. Who'd you rather have if you were a betting man, Rip, of making the playoffs?
I'd still go Cincinnati. They'll both make the playoffs, but I'd take Cincinnati to go further. I mean, if Burrow's healthy with those receivers, they have a pretty good defense. I think all things being equal, Cincinnati will end up going further in the playoffs than Baltimore.
Last NFL bit with the Jets here. Feel sad for the Jets, to be honest with you. Zach Wilson, he's so shitty. Zach Wilson's so shitty. Garrett Wilson has to get lucky, on these big plays. to even show up on the stat sheet. He's not able to make nice clean cuts and get open. We saw Pickens do a couple of those moves yesterday. I'm really down on the Jets, man. I'm disappointed I picked him up in my survivor pool without Aaron Rodgers. It's just very, very sad watching the New York Jets. Is there anything that you see in the future of the Jets as far as trades that can happen? I know Colt McCoy is still available. There's a couple other quarterbacks that have been talked about. Kirk Cousins, possibly. If you're the GM of the Jets, are you riding out Wilson or are you making a move? I thought they would have made a move last week. It's kind of mind boggling they didn't, especially after watching Wilson again against that Cowboys D, who's very, very good. But what are you doing? What are you doing if you're the GM of the Jets?
That's the thing. I think you got to look at who they played. I mean, Dallas is the best defense in the NFL, and of course they're going to struggle a little bit. So I think you got to take about the next 4 games and then judge it after that. I mean, look, Zach Wilson isn't great, but he's probably the best or the second best backup in the NFL. So give that man a few more games, see if he's actually made any kind of leap from last year, from the last couple years. And the Jets defense is so good; they're always going to be in games for the most part. So I think they still got a really good chance of making the playoffs even without A-Rod.
So you stick with him. All right. There's Rips. There's Rips moment. What's your take on the story that's taken over the country? You have people on the East Coast staying up till a 10 p.m. kickoff, which is crazy to me, especially for college football. I didn't watch the whole game. I caught bits and pieces. Deion Sanders, man, he's taken over. He's taken over every entity of college football. He's the face of college football. Usually a Colorado State, Colorado game is only a betters game. Nobody else except for the betters give a shit. The entire country was tuned in to this, and it delivered. It delivered on tons of levels. I was ready for those coaches to do a little MMA brawl. I could have watched that. I could have paid pay-per-view for that. We had a fired up Colorado State team coming out matching this intensity of Colorado sparked by Deion. Is Deion tapped into something different than we've ever seen in college football? Has Deion tapped into the core essence of college football that could keep college football alive through NIL and through conference changes and through all this shit? Because what I saw in that game was none of it mattered. I was watching that game the same way I was watching an NFL game on Saturday. On Sunday, excuse me. It had all of the same emotions and storylines as an NFL game. Is Deion doing this right? Is Deion the new template of success in college football?
I think he's one of one. I don't think there's anyone out there that could command that kind of attention and who's that entertaining, but he's always been this way. He's been as entertaining as a coach as he was as a player. I mean, if you remember everything he did as a player, he's been incredible. And the other part is, even without the crazy part is he has 2 sons on that team, 2 sons that are both really good players. Even without having sons on that team, this would be entertaining. But if you add that storyline in, it's absolutely insane. I love watching it. I love what he's doing. It might end this week because they're playing, I believe, at Oregon. It
At
might end
Oregon.
this week, but hey, if they somehow come out and beat Oregon, can you imagine the level of attention and excitement that's going to be going on there? If they should have game day for the Colorado game every week at this point. If they beat Oregon, it's going to be unreal.
Unreal. I mean, they took in 9.3 million viewers. Made it the most watched late night college football game ever in the history of ESPN. This game against Oregon's on ABC, which is probably where they should live. But that's amazing to me. I was getting texts from people on the East Coast at 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, up and at them. This does not happen normally. Nobody stays up for college football this late, like I said, except for the sicko betters. So they got TCU, great game, beat them. Colorado State beat them on to Oregon. I'm tuned in. I'm going to keep watching. If you haven't been following Colorado and your Saturdays are open, find some space to watch a little bit of this Colorado Oregon game. I don't think you'll be let down at all. So no 1-star moments of the week going for the Colorado Buffaloes right now. It seems like 5 stars every way they turn. 1-star moments of the week for us. We're the 1-star recruits. Things happen in life. We talk about them. Rip, what do you have? What happened to you this week that's 1-star worthy?
I didn't have any 1-star stuff that I particularly did that caused it myself, but it was a crazy week with sickness in my house. The weather's changing. My oldest son has asthma symptoms, and so every time he gets sick, it's like level 10. We got to be on lockdown, and if not, it could turn into this. And unfortunately, it was bad. We were at urgent care 2 times in a 48-hour span. The asthma stuff is really no joke. So really, but fortunately now he's doing better. He's back at school, ready to tackle life and all that. But it was a rough, probably 4 or 5 days around here. So yeah, one star moment of the week, just illness, man, just being sick. There's so much stuff going around right now. We got to be super careful.
Yeah, you even did a hard pass on a hangout session with the wealthiest man in our friend circle. Nick Barton was down in Laguna Beach. I think he was staying at the Four Seasons, sponsoring a soccer tournament for his kids. Hit you up for a hangout session. You couldn't even pull away to see Nick DiBiase, the wealthiest man that we know.
I couldn't do it, man. We pretty much canceled everything this weekend. We're stayed in the house, watched a bunch of football, and that's the thing. And it's weird, man, because I feel like I have to validate myself every time I cancel something. So I send people pictures from urgent care with him, like with a breathing mask around his face, just to prove that I'm on the up and up, and showing him that it's real. But yeah, it sucks, man. But like I said, fortunately, he's almost back to 100% now, so we're good to go.
Good, good, good. My one star moment goes back to last week. I had a home run pizza, frozen pizza, and it did me dirty. Had major stomach problems. My one star moment, guess what? I ran back frozen pizza. This time, I took another risk. Remember, I was talking about not taking risks with frozen pizza, sticking to what you know, the tried and true. For me, the Amy's pizza and the DiGiorno. In Hawaii, frozen pizzas for some reason are crazy expensive. Talking 13, 14, $15 for the normal stuff that you see at Albertsons in the mainland. And I was taking a little peruse down the Target frozen food aisle. Saw myself a thin crust Ford cheese pizza, California Pizza Kitchen, half off, $5.99. I got it. I ate it. Once again, it fucked my stomach up, Rip. So I continued. So my one star moment is that I continue to eat frozen pizza like this, really the scumbag I am. Here I am in this natural, amazing uh, environment full of fruits and vegetables, and I'm eating frozen pizza. It's going to be my last. This will be my last frozen pizza of 2023. You heard it here first. I will not be eating frozen pizzas anymore. The California Pizza Kitchen Ford cheese thin crust, actually pretty good pizza. Just know that I can't do it anymore. So if I'm getting invited to a party, somebody wants to do frozen pizza, you want to have a little dinner at your house, you invite me over for, don't be surprised if I bring my own, I might bring a BLT or a club sandwich. I can't do it anymore.
That really is truly a one-star moment of the week, just based on what you had last week, and just it's just a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me moment. DK, I can't believe you went down that road again. You really got to stick to this one. No more frozen pizza. No matter if someone hands you a free DiGiorno, you got to throw it in the trash, man. You can't take any more risks.
I'm gonna throw in the trash, man. I'm done. I might be done. I might just even just take a pause on pizza. It's my favorite food. I do love it, but I might take a pause on pizza because your boy's lactose. I need to accept it. This is another part of. I just did this whole thing in the beginning of this podcast about coming of age, and being in the present and figure out who I am. Well, figure out what you can put in your gut because your anus can't take it on the way out. Pretty much. Turn up my
And
anus.
and you live so far away from any store now, you can't risk driving 45 minutes to get a frozen pizza that's going to be a one star. You got to stop it, man.
Can't do it, man. So I'm out on that. So that's the one star moment. No more frozen pizza. I'll probably have some more one star moments coming up in the future here that will be a little bit more relevant as I'm going to be trying a lot of new things in this new environment here. So as we know in life, you try things, you fail, you hate them, you're good at them, whatever. You're going to be hearing about them in the one star moments. Recommendations, bro. Anything that made you feel good? Anything in life last week that you want to recommend to the world? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight a small business out of it's a Colorado company. They have locations in Denver, right near Coors Field, and also Lafayette, Colorado, which I believe where they're from. It's alcohol. The company is called Stem Cider. I've been a big cider guy over the last few years, DK. I was recommended this one by a neighbor, but check out some of these flavors, man. These flavors are unbelievable. They have salted cucumber, tangerine whip, apricot haze, lavender for all the scent, the people who like nice scents out there. Hey, cider is good right now. It's 5% alcohol, so it's not too strong, but it tastes delicious. You can go on stemciders.com, STEM ciders.com. Check out all the locations where you can actually buy the stuff. There's like three within a mile of me, just liquor stores, whatever. But stemciders.com. Check it out, DK. Are you a cider guy?
Nope, nope, not much of an alcohol guy in general. Have you actually ever been drunk off of ciders though?
No, but that's the beauty of it is when you don't actually want to get drunk when you're drinking. I mean, it's a nice, you can have one or two of them. Sometimes it does get a little sweet, so you probably can't have more than two, but the taste can't be beat.
So strictly for taste, not for getting drunk. And you'd rather have a cider over, say, a just a normal cocktail
It
if
depends.
offered.
It depends what kind of mood you're in. I mean, obviously a cocktail with alcohol would have a higher alcohol content, but if it's a hot summer day and you're wanting to have a cold drink, cider usually hits the spot. I know our guy Rossi with shooting too is a big cider guy, so I'm gonna be hitting him up with these stem ciders. Find out one in San Francisco near where he lives. But yeah, this stuff is amazing, man.
It's a love it or hate it thing with the cider. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, but I know it is a big business. Some of these are doing millions and millions of dollars of sales, and these sound really good, man. I like the interesting flavors. If I do an alcoholic beverage, I'm always going to choose a more interesting flavor than a basic. So I'll try it. What's the name of this one again?
It's Stem Ciders, STEM, stemciders.com.
Stem ciders. Cool, cool. Well, shit, Rip. I wish we had a little bit more this week. We got no guests. I've been in movement. I did a whole run. I took up the whole entire 30 minutes of this podcast talking about myself and my life. What else you got? Anything else you want to add? Any updates on your life? Any big rich rip moments you want to let the world know about?
As always, man, we got some fire guests coming. We got two interviews next week, so we'll be getting those on our podcast. If you can subscribe at Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'll be getting those over the next few weeks, and we got more coming, man. Some big names coming up, DK. Some surprises, not just athletes. We got some good ones coming for you. Hey, do you have a rec of the week, by the way?
My rec of the week, I don't have a good one. This is like my most average podcast ever, but my rec of the week will be if you feel like, not even if you feel like, just if you're listening to this podcast, Google trail trail run in your area, trail run in your city, and or a mud run in your city. If you're trying to get into shape or just trying to get out of your head or just trying to do something new, look for a trail run or a mud run in your city and sign up for it. They're not too hard. They're totally doable. A lot of normal people out there doing them. There's the group of super athletes who, they have the first group of people who did this is called Go Ruck. I've never even heard of Go Ruck before, but what that means is you fill up a backpack, a sandbag, a backpack full of sand, and do this race with a sandbag. You don't have to do that. You can just do like the one I did, where you just do a 5K or a 10K. Get out there, get your heart rate going, get into nature. The Japanese call it nature bathing. It really is a thing, and help your mind get into the present space. So if you're feeling motivated at all by my little story and my post feelings of this race, Google one in your area and sign up for it. Take your kids out, Rip. They all have kids stuff. So there's a little kids track too at this that was like a mile. At the end, you get to jump in mud with your kids. It's just really great. Look it up. Give it a try. It was something new to me. I think it's going to be something that I'm going to try to do every year.
Trail runs. Let's go. Stay in shape, DK.
Hit the music. Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez have officially filed for divorce. Ariana Grande, a superstar. Dalton Gomez, a normal real estate agent from Los Angeles. Would you recommend, Rip, that normal people date celebrities?
It depends. I mean, if you're so big that you can't relate to that person, it probably won't work out. But sometimes it's actually exactly what a mega superstar needs is just a normal person so they can kind of get some of that normal life back. But it's not a clear answer, but it really does depend because some of these work. I think, Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell married just this random dude that lives in LA, and they've been going strong for like 20 years with kids and a nice family and everything. But hey, like I said, it just depends. Some work and some don't. Just like every other marriage, some work and some don't.
Truth spoken, Rip. Phil Mickelson admits to a gambling addiction, which we all knew about. What's your addiction that you've never told anybody? What's Rip's addiction?
If you listen to this podcast, DK, over the last couple years since I discovered this, it's Lee's coffee. It's Lee's iced coffee. It's the concentrate. I mix it with ice and water. It gets me going anytime I need energy. I just had some about an hour before the show. I recommend it to anybody. I don't drink any other coffee, but it's this iced coffee. I was actually just thinking the other day, I was trying to think figure out if I'm addicted to this. The answer is I don't know, but every time I have it, I love it. So that's my answer is Lee's iced coffee.
Jimmy Fallon apologizes to staffers following a report of toxic workplace behavior. Who's your favorite late night person, if any? And Jimmy Fallon, douchebag vibes or not douchebag vibes?
He never gave me douchebag vibes before, but some of this new stuff coming out, I gotta say he is. I mean, can I say Arsenio Hall? I don't like any of these new guys. I guess if you throw John Oliver in there, he's probably the best. The most I've watched recently. I like John Oliver. He's number one for me.
We'll give it to John Oliver. Last one, Bryce Young, first round draft pick. Looks like a little tiny human out there playing football for the Carolina Panthers. What does success look like this year for Bryce Young?
Success for Bryce Young. If the Panthers go 500 and he throws more touchdowns than interceptions, I think that's definitely a successful year. I think even Peyton Manning threw a ton of interceptions his rookie year. It worked out well for him in the long run. Bryce Young, man, so many Kyler Murray vibes with the size, but he seems to have a very good head on his shoulders, really good parents, really good family, really good history. So I'm not counting him out just yet, but if the Panthers go 500, I think that's very promising for them.
Maybe get in the gym a little bit too, Bryce. Get in the gym. We'll be back next week. We got a guest. We're going to be living life. We're going to have more content going on. Maybe changes to the podcast in the future. We'll keep you posted, but good things. Keep your feet underneath you. Stay in the present. Take a deep breath. We love you so much, and we appreciate you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.